Hi, welcome to the Coaching Game. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight I am so thrilled to tell you that my guest is Nancy Snell. And I'll tell you why I'm excited.
Oh, why?
Nancy was kind of like my introduction to coaching. I walk in and I have no idea what a coach is, and I had no idea what I was doing there. And there was this lady, Nancy Snell, but she had already sort of been a little coaching.
Yeah, for like coaching. 15 minutes.
That's all right. It was 15 more than me. And she really did guide the class. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but it's like if you realize, yes, because you realized at points that we weren't getting it, so you reiterated it. Because when we started doing it, they were reading from a book, and there wasn't a lot of interchange. Remember that? It's very interactive now, but they had a set thing, and you kind of, you're not believing me, but you were.
No, I am. I'm listening because it's very interesting, what we remember.
Yeah.
And what others remember, so it's really great to get the perspective.
Yes, and it was like, okay, well, at least she survived this coaching thing, whatever it is, so I can probably do that too. Yes.
And how long ago was it?
This was 2004.
Yeah,
actually 2003. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a while ago. We were sort of pioneers in this whole coaching
Well, I thought so.
initiative.
And then people will say, oh, I've been a coach since 1995. I'm going, wow, no kidding.
Right.
Who knew what a coach was?
Right,
But
exactly.
Anyway, we're both coaches now, so we're quite happy to say that. And I want to tell you a little bit about the coaching game. The coaching game is one of the best tools I've ever found out there, designed in Israel, and with right and left brain thinking being brought together. And the results are just like, whoa, you think you're going here and you go, okay. So what I usually ask my guests to do is to pick out some cards that are going to get their message out. Nancy picked out a beautiful array that we may or may not get to, but I bet the words will come up eventually. I guess I'm going to ask you, because I'm still so fascinated that you were a coach before me.
You'll get over that soon. All right.
You think so? How did you get into coaching?
I have always been fascinated by human behavior ever since I was a little girl. In fact, I always thought I wanted to be a psychiatrist, which is really strange because when I was a little girl, most people never even heard of a psychiatrist. And I have a degree in psychology, and I'm fascinated with the unconscious and why we all do what we do. And I'm also very much about living in solutions and getting motivated to be confident and competent. And
that was one of her cards.
Which card was that?
Solutions.
Solutions. So I've always been about, let's move ahead. Let's get into solution. Let's stop living in this problem, whatever that was. And I think I was actually working full time at the time and going to school at Fordham to get my MSW to be a therapist, because I thought that's what I want to do. And it was literally in the elevator in my building where a neighbor said, hello, what do you do? And she said, I'm a coach. And I said, what's that? And by the time we got to the lobby, I knew that that's what I was going to do.
I'm a coach too. Very quick training, yes.
Yeah. Well, I went and got trained.
It's so funny, because I have a theory that coaching calls who it wants, and I just kept getting signs, and it was like, okay, whatever this coaching is, I'm going to have to do it. So it sounds like that's one thing, and you don't have that, and I'm not even sure there is a card for it, but openness. I think that is just. And I think that's how most people get to where they want to be, because they're open to opportunities and open to new ideas, And
then it's about, I do business coaching. So I'm all about execution. And it's not about, obviously we have to have knowledge and we have to have life experience, and it's about what are we doing with it to get to where we want to go. So I approach coaching from which is one of the things that brought me into it, that I recognized I could be an entrepreneur. And it was not about just sitting as a therapist, potentially, listening to problems all day and delving into the why of life, as opposed to the where we're going and how we're getting there of life.
Right.
And so that was also a motivator for me, was the business component of it and growing a business, which is something else that I love.
Now, that is so funny, and I admire you for that, because most people go into coaching and it's like, oh my God, I want to help people. And then when they finish the coaching, it's like, oh my God, now what do I do? I've got to start. Business is not going to knock on my door. Yes, I have to figure out how to get that out there. So thank God you're out there, because you help other coaches too, right? It's not only...
No, I actually don't.
No? You don't help other coaches? No,
I mean,
okay.
not not formally.
Oh, okay.
Like training other coaches?
No, not training, but helping them with their business, getting their business, giving them some ideas.
Well, just colleagues, just sharing
So it's not a
information.
deal.
Not
Okay.
anything. That's not a part of my business model. No.
Oh, okay. No.
Not a bad idea,
It's
Don't give me another idea.
Definitely needed. I know we're talking about the Nancy Snell show very soon. Coming your way.
Coming your way, yeah.
I see, on the bottom we have productivity, business productivity / ADHD. Now,
So,
that seems very incongruent to me. Tell me why it's not.
great question. So, where I've really built up my expertise and reputation and wheelhouse, for lack of a better word, is doing ADD coaching with adults and with business professionals. And it's really about increasing productivity, meaning today, and it's actually not a joke, but so many people say, oh, I'm ADD, everybody's ADD, because we live in a culturally induced ADD society. There's just too much information, and if you're out and about, and especially in the business world, you know what it's like to be pulled in 1,000 directions and have interruptions and not be able to focus or get your email done or get the RFP out on time or communicate effectively. So it's and as a result, people are very stressed. I don't think I'm answering the question, but I'll get to it.
No, I love it because you're right. We're bombarded with email and texting and Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, and it's like, and it's
Too many choices.
Too much. You're right. Too much information. Too many
much
choices,
information,
yeah.
which is where we say we're like in a culturally induced ADD society. However, so best practices of what I do in working with an ADD population apply. And many of my clients are not ADD. They don't come with any kind of diagnosis or what they would call a stigma attached, and the best practices apply of time management and of working a calendar or dismantling information or how to manage 3,000 emails in your inbox. Or the other day I saw somebody with 50,000 emails, and I can show that to you later because I asked her if I could take a picture of her phone.
Oh, I'll feel much better now with mine.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly.
Yeah.
I said, this is not okay.
I love that, Nancy, because what you're saying is, although the doctor's not going to say ADHD, got a problem, we are being forced to go faster and faster and multitask, which has already been proven that, multitask, it doesn't work. It's you do everything half done.
But you feel, so we're all
half-assed,
busy.
and I will.
Right?
Yeah.
We're busy. We may not be doing the things that are prioritized, the things that we need to be doing, but we feel like we're accomplishing. And we're all desperate to do that.
So what you do, taking and helping people focus? That was one of her cards, focus.
Oh, yeah.
Helping people focus or helping people, because I notice sometimes I have to actually say to myself, focus, Laurie, because I get lost over here, and it's like, no, go back to what you're doing. You can do that later. Do you help people do that? And if so, how?
Yeah, I mean, that's perfect because you're not an ADD person, and you're struggling with the same syndrome.
Yes, exactly.
So case in point.
Yeah.
So it's really a matter of prioritizing. So how do we focus? We commit to when we're going to do X, Y, or Z. And a lot of this is self-talk, it's commitment, it's awareness and following through. So it doesn't necessarily come naturally because there are too many shiny new toys all the time. And I'm sorry to say, it's not getting any better, and it's not getting any easier for any of us. So we're each mandated to come up with our individual solutions of what we're going to do about this. And focus is a really big one. So that might mean, crazy as it sounds, turn off the phone.
Okay.
You're not going to die.
No.
Turn off the beep. Turn off everything. The whatever they are, those pages, everything that's coming up on the screen to let you know every time you get an email.
Pop-ups.
It's it's not
the
natural.
notices.
So how a strategy is to turn that off, and you might have to detox from that. Meaning, you might just do it for 5 minutes. and see if you can withstand it.
See if you're alive after the 5 minutes. I'm sure you will be.
You will be, and you will be happier. And the studies show that people who actually have weekends where they detox or go to a party where everybody has to throw their phone into the middle of the room and not, so therefore they can actually have a conversation and speak to one another. They're really happy.
A dying art, yes.
But back to my original point, it takes effort and it takes commitment to do it. It's
Right.
not coming naturally to any of us anymore.
No, it's not. But I see the logic and the brilliance in what you're saying, because it's to me it's like a new software product or a new hardware tool. It's like you can buy it, but it's obsolete the minute you buy it because there's going to be somebody else doing something else.
Oh.
And it's like, so you finally have to go, you know what, this is my level. I am
Exactly.
satisfied. And that's kind of what I've done with all the software and the hardware stuff. It's like, enough already. I don't even want to know this stuff. So how do you do that? Do you set a level? And I mean, what if you don't keep up? Does the world end? How do you deal with that?
I think it's an individual thing, and we all have to decide where we want to be, how we want our lives to be, where we want our stress level to be. Do we want to go on vacations or do we want to work till 2 a.m.? How do we figure out how to do that?
Yeah.
Do we want to have social time or do we want to be connected all the time? It's an individual intervention.
Yeah.
Is basically
One of
what
the
it
cards
is.
that you chose, and I was so surprised when she did, is pause. And it's like, yeah, it sounds so simple, but pause. I've been trying to meditate for 2 years. And I'll go to, just 5 minutes, you can do this, Laurie, and I can't. So it's like, tell me more about pause.
What can I just have to, just as a coach, what gets in your way of that?
I'll do it for maybe 2 or 3 days, and then it's like 4
Oh.
phone calls will come, and I'll have 6
Oh, so you
things that
can't. So you haven't been consistent, but you can do it for 5 minutes.
I can do it for 5
It's just a consistency.
It's not,
of,
it's
okay,
not like
that's
my
what I'm
brain
saying.
shorts out or something.
Okay, no,
or
that's,
maybe
I was
it does,
just curious.
I don't know.
Just curious.
No, it's just like, I'll do it in a minute, and then 6 emails will come in, and then you'll make a meeting, and so it's a hard commitment for me. But tell me about your pause. What are you talking about?
Pause is one of my favorite strategies of all the work that I do, and I have a little workshop called the 5 Ps: how to manage the tsunami and stay on top of your game. And pause
I like that.
is all over the place. Why? Because we're airborne half the time. We're thinking, we're doing, we're going, we're busy, and we don't stop and think through. We don't use our beautiful brains as much anymore. And so much happens in the pause. I remember many years ago, a therapist I was seeing at the time told me that, Nancy, you have to slow down in order to go faster. And I was like, what? I want to grab her around the throat. I'm so busy, I have so many things to do. That's not happening. But it's actually true. So it's that whole thing about disconnecting, pausing. Just stop for 5 seconds and then think.
The deep breathing is very elementary and instrumental in getting you to calm down, definitely.
And even without I interrupt, but because I interrupt a lot. But even without the deep the breath, it's the pause. It's the stopping. Just stop. And it's stopping and thinking through.
Oh, okay. So you're saying,
That's
okay,
what I'm talking
the emails are coming, and it's like, okay, just hold up here now. For a minute.
When the
And
overwhelm.
Are these important, or do I want to do this?
Correct.
Or if someone asks us what we have for lunch, we go, oh, nothing. Yeah. It's like, do we want to have lunch?
We didn't think about
Yeah.
it. Lunch?
Lunch. Oh, okay.
Right.
We're getting there.
So it's about thinking through. And it's a strategy when you're very, very overwhelmed. That's not the time to do more. That's the time to pause. And think.
That makes some sense. Yeah.
What is the next thing you need
Because
to
it's
do?
like running, and it's just like you can keep running forever, but then you're going to fall out and get nothing done. So you may as well slow it down. I like that.
Right, because it's not sustainable to keep up the pace that so many of us keep up today, and as a result, people are getting sick, and they're exhausted.
Yeah.
and the quality of life is diminishing, and they're stressed, and it's not balanced.
Yeah, balance is a hard one to do. Tell me, what do you think is, or what is the major difference between, let's go into ADHD, and what's the major difference in your coaching to say for a non-ADHD and an ADHD person? Is there any difference?
Yeah, ADDers are, I'm one of them, so I'm not your stereotypical
That's why
ADD
she has
adult.
7 degrees, yeah.
That's why I have 45, I do 45 things. No, with ADD, we're a little bit more sensitive, and we've had struggles, whether it was in school or whether it's shame or whether, it was a learning disability or anxiety.
Difficulty. Yeah, I was wondering why she chose that. I got it.
That's so interesting. We never did these cards before.
No,
Very interesting.
It's just I'm going, okay, it will all come to pass, and I'll find out why she chose difficulty.
So in the ADD, in an ADD diagnosis, if you will, or in the pure sense of ADD, we have pain, and we've had a lot of struggles. And very often there's what we call a fraud syndrome. And I work with really successful business professionals, and half of them went to Ivy League schools. They went to, they're CEOs, or they're of their own business. They're entrepreneurs, successful, and yet they're carrying around sometimes what we call the fraud syndrome, meaning I'm going to get fired every day, or somebody's going to find out that I really have no idea what I'm doing.
Don't have a clue what I'm doing. Yeah.
Right. Why? Because school was so hard. Because maybe learning was so hard.
Okay.
Or because I couldn't, I just was distracted all the time. I was thinking of something else.
Or it's like you're saying, this doesn't come easy to me. I have to keep trying,
Yeah.
and someone's
Or
going to find
reading.
out. Yeah.
Very often ADD, just for anyone who's interested, you don't usually find a pure ADD person. Meaning it coexists with anxiety, substance abuse, depression, very often, as we say, bipolar. They're all. I always like to say they're lovely cousins. Mm-hmm. So you have to pull it apart, and again, it's an individual experience of where somebody's coming from, and so in the ADD coaching, that's different. There's a little more tenderness. There's a lot of compassion and tenderness and shame talk, and my favorite thing to say is, okay, we're going to take the hammer away that you're beating yourself up with, and we're going to pick up a feather.
Aha.
So you can beat yourself up. It's going to be with a feather, not a hammer.
Still get your attention, but it won't hurt as much.
Right.
Yeah. And again, this is the one that really puzzled me, because she did the pain thing, and it's like, pain, okay.
There's a lot of pain.
Yeah, there is a lot of pain when you feel like I love the fraud syndrome. I love that you call it the fraud syndrome. Because I think we've all, I do that here. I do that here at the station, because I don't know all this equipment. I know a little bit about it, and I can get through some things. And I think I hope nobody finds out, and then you have great people who help you. So that's good.
Well, you bring, and that's coaching, right?
Yes.
So we're not broken. We just want to keep getting better.
Yeah.
That's what we do, as coaches. We just help people get better all the time. Conceptually, none of us is broken.
And you remove the obstacles, but also I think what I would think would happen with ADD is you expand the possibilities, because if you're thinking in this limited, I don't want anybody to know that I don't know this, I don't know that. It's like, okay, open that up a little.
Yeah, like that's in the coaching what we talk about. Like, the gig is up, people. You don't have to live in this pain for another day unless you choose to. There are those of us who know what we're doing with this. There are solutions. The gig is up.
And it's not, and now as we're talking, I see it's not that far removed from regular coaching, because that's what you're doing, expanding horizons, altering perspectives, and just letting people know what they actually are capable of and what they can do. So I love that you're doing that. Now, you mentioned a workshop that you have. Do you have some workshops?
I have a little workshop. It's really about the process of dismantling information. The 5 Ps, and I've done that, a number of times.
Tell us the 5 Ps.
It's about pause.
Okay, pause.
And prioritize, and process, and plan, and then persist. So it's really a lot.
Persistence.
I am consistent.
All these. Yes,
I am consistently inconsistent. That's what I am. So, but like we all know what we know. We all know the truth for ourselves. We don't always get to it, but we all have it. I forgot what I was going to say, which is totally fine.
Well, it's the workshop, and it was the 5 Ps, and I think we were talking about persistence, and it's like, persistence is important. It's like, I often look at movie stars, and I look at men that are very short and that are mega stars, and I go, what made them think I'm going to be a leading man and keep going back and back? And they are.
They got in front of the camera and saw they were tall.
That's true. They stood on a box.
They stood on it. Yeah, they were like, whoa.
Well, I didn't really think it was that logical, but
it could be that logical.
It could be, but it was more. It's like illusions, but it's really like. And I always wonder what makes people go back and keep going again, even though they get knocked down sometimes, or they get knocked over to the side, maybe not flattened, but dissuaded. And
I think that comes back to what we were talking about having good people around you. And having a team, having a coach, having a best friend, having whatever it is that's we all need to be encouraged. And some people are not persistent. They just can't do it, and it's something to reach for. It's something to strive for, because that is really what makes the difference.
Yeah.
When you doing it when you don't feel like it, getting up. What we say sometimes, just suit up and show up.
Oh, I like that. Suit
up and show up.
Okay.
So many times I have not wanted to do fill in the blank, and it always is 99% of the time it's really great, to just suit up and show up, and you meet people, you're out in the world. Otherwise, we're like in our own heads.
Yeah.
Just a dangerous neighborhood.
We'll speak to always. No matter whose head
Don't
it's
go in there alone. It's a dangerous neighborhood in there.
Make sure you spend limited time.
Right.
That's interesting, because it's like, speak to me about setting limitations and planning, and yet not staying in your head. That's a tap dance, I would think, right?
Tell me a little bit more.
Well, I'm thinking, okay, you need to. I have relatives and friends who just pre-think everything. It's like, I'm a doer. I don't think. I just do, and if I screw it up, I'll fix it. No big deal.
Right.
So it's like these people research and they plan and they know what each step should be. My thought is, I have a sign on my refrigerator: God, man plans and God laughs. It's like, okay.
Well.
So where's the balance, or is that the other thing where we're trying to balance?
Well, the balance is in the calendar. And I do a lot of tactical work with the calendar.
Wow.
That's most of my work with people, whether they're people who are overwhelmed in the time management space. We get really into the granular calendar and your to-do list, which is not your calendar.
Right.
It's a first cousin. They're companions. And how to dismantle a to-do list that feels very unwieldy and get that stuff down into baby steps to put on the calendar, which is all about commitment. So there has to be planning involved in order to have a purposeful life. We need to plan. So there's that pause again.
Yeah.
We need to stop and plan the time to plan.
And then I guess the real trick comes in knowing when to stop planning and when to act, right?
No.
No?
No, because if it's on my
me on air, man. It's okay.
That's okay.
You won't be
That's
the first.
I just might not get invited back, but whatever.
No.
I'll deal. It's about making things manageable enough and small enough so we actually can execute around them. So we don't want to be like OCD, as we're saying, like
right.
every And having said that, we want to have a plan. We want a calendar. It would be like trying to build a house without a blueprint. To have a life without a calendar is like build a house without a contractor or a blueprint. I mean, you just don't want to be throwing up walls indiscriminately.
Okay. One of my favorite things
does that answer that?
I think so. Because one of my favorite, since you interrupted me. Interrupted and corrected.
Yeah. Disagree.
One of my favorite things is like every dream needs an Excel sheet. And it's like, it's good to be out there and plan, but you really need to do steps.
That.
Isn't that great? Yeah, I don't know where I heard it.
You all hear it here. Laurie said it, I might use it.
No,
I might say that.
So it's like, so I see what you're saying. My concern would be, no, you know what, it's probably my prejudice. I don't want to think about stuff a lot. I want to do it. I'm an anxious, I want to get it done. I want to do it.
You're not alone.
I think behind me, you know, it's like, oh, okay, what could have gone better? What can I do next time? You know, something like that. But that's my style. That's all a matter of style, I think, as opposed to being in the head all the time. And I admire people who can research and take the time to do that.
So, and how would you rate yourself on a 1 to 10 in terms of procrastination?
1 to 10, 10 being a high level, I would say a 2.
Okay, so you're just one of those earth people.
Yeah,
who doesn't have these. Yeah. But jumping in is not about being, because another hallmark of ADD is impulsivity. So
it's a balance.
It's a balance, but you're not talking about being impulsive.
Right.
Sort of. I mean, it's like a shade of it. But you're
always
being
in my head, it's like,
too.
I want to get it out of my head. I want to get that off my head so I can go do something else. So it could be a bit compulsive. It's like, I don't want to, my to-do list, you know, I want to check it off and add something to it. But I'm learning this year, last year the goal was to slow it down. Just slow it down.
Here, now the truth comes out.
Yes. I'm not saying it works 100% of the time, but it's like, so my concern was I don't want to be in my head. I don't want to pre-plan a lot of stuff, but I'll do it retrospectively. So I guess as long as you do it, and you're willing to take responsibility for anything you may or may not screw up, then
right. But and you know, another big issue that I deal with all the time is about memory. And you know, even if you're in your 20s, which we're almost in our 20s.
Almost.
But even if in your 20s, there's too much going on today, that I encourage my clients, 20s, early 30s, write it down. Do not, and many of them say they can't remember anymore. They don't remember the way they used to.
And you look at them and go, really? You're young. But no, it's just we're being bombarded. And speaking of being bombarded, we have 30 seconds left.
Oh, wow. This went fast. This was fun, Laurie.
Very fast.
Thank
you.
It
was fun. I wanted to encourage you to check out nancysnell.com. She's got some really cool things that maybe you can catch one of her workshops. And thank you. It is so nice. We're kind of reuniting here, and it's so nice to see where you've taken your coaching practice and all the people that you're helping. So thank you for sharing that with us. And you're definitely, even if you did contradict me, you're invited back.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks, Laurie.
This was fun.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you. It was fun.
Wasn't it?
Now we'll see if we look like